Hola, welcome back to another Spanish lesson with Senor Gais. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to conjugate verbs that end in IR. So in my past few videos, I've been talking about how to conjugate other verbs that end in AR, like bailar, montar, escuchar, and escalar, and how to conjugate verbs that end in ER, like comer, ver, correr, and aprender. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to conjugate verbs that end in IR, like vivir, which means to live. So if we want to say I live, you can probably guess this based on what you learned about AR and ER verbs. You're going to take off the IR ending, and you're going to add the ending O. Vivo means I live. If you want to say you live, you're going to take off the IR ending, and you might guess that you would add an IS. But I'm going to throw a curveball at you. You're actually going to add an ES, vives. Vives means you live. If we want to say she lives, third person singular, we're going to take off the IR ending and we're going to add not an I but an E, vive. She lives, vive. At this point, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, these are exactly the same endings as ER verbs, and you're completely correct when you say that. Most of these endings, 4 out of the 6, are the same as ER endings. So the fourth one, they, third person plural ending, is going to be N. Viven means they live. But at this point, they've all been the same as ER endings, but now we're going to move on to the two endings that are different for verbs that end in IR. So if we're going to say we live, it's not going to be with an E, we're going to actually use an I. So we're going to take off the IR ending and say vivimos, means we live. Vivimos. And finally, you guys live or you all live. We're going to take off the IR ending, and the ending we're going to add is is. So vivis means you guys live, you all live. Okay, so now we have our endings for IR verbs. And like I was saying before, they're almost just like the ER verbs, only the nosotros and the vosotros forms are different. So these forms of the IR verbs and these endings of the ER verbs are the exact same, but they're different in the nosotros and vosotros forms. So let's do some examples here. Escribir means to write. So if I want to say I write, we're going to take off the IR ending, and which ending would we add? If you guessed O, escribo means I write. You would be correct. Escribo means I write. Dormir means to sleep. And if we want to say we sleep, how would you say that? How would you say we sleep if dormir means to sleep? If you took off the IR ending and then added the imos ending, dormimos, you are correct. Dormimos means we sleep. The last example here, abrir means to open. If we want to say you all open or y'all open, how would you conjugate the verb abrir? If you guessed, take off the IR and add IS, abris, you would be correct. Abris means you all open, y'all open. Okay, so these are our IR endings. It's going to be really important that you know how to conjugate a verb that ends in IR. And with a little bit of practice, you should be able to conjugate any verb that ends in AR, ER, or IR. Those are the 3 endings in Spanish. So these are all the endings you're going to have to learn for the present tense in Spanish.